Hello everyone, and welcome back to my second part of this reaction. And today we're going to be reacting to the first Punic Wars from Oversimplified Part 2. And if you missed the first part, make sure to go check that out. It's a wonderful, wonderful upload. Oversimplified has really done it again, and he always hits. It's never a miss, no matter what video it is. And I feel like I'm going to enjoy this. I do know a bit about the Punic Wars, and I will give my commentary where it's given, and I will just stop talking, and I'll get right into this video, guys. Make sure to give the original video a...
After the gigantic battle at Cape Ecnomus, the Romans were now free to land on African soil, and so they did. The Carthaginians chose to focus on defending the city of Carthage itself. So the Romans immediately took the city of Aspis and were then free to raid and plunder the countryside. They took over 20,000 slaves and a ton of booty. But then some orders arrived from the Senate. Send home the booty.
Oh, but I want to stay.
No, Steve, not you. They mean the treasure. Well, we are not watching any more of this filth.
I feel like
so
that's an actual
booty,
reaction to
leaving
that.
Regulus and his forces on their own, and they began
would
advancing towards Carthage. Along the way, according to the ancient writer Livy, they encountered a literal dragon. Now, Livy was a Roman historian, so his account may be slightly exaggerated, but this, I believe. As the Romans continued to plunder, the Carthaginian people flooded into the city. Now, not only was it in a major panic, but it was so crowded, the people began to starve.
Don't panic, everyone!
Look, I know you're all starving, but I still have food. For me. So, you know, it's not all bad.
Yep, it's not all bad.
Whoa! You're wasting your tomatoes! And you idiots wonder
Yeah, they
why
are
you're
wasting their tomatoes. He's got a point.
Oh well, it's just more food for me! Nom, 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 nom.
Things weren't looking good for Carthage.
Oh my gosh.
They had to do something
Dude,
to stop the Romans rampaging throughout their land. So they decided, finally, it was time to put an end to it. They headed out and set up on rough hilly terrain overlooking the Roman camp, and they prepared for battle. Now, while the Carthaginians were the traditional masters of the sea, on land, they weren't always the brightest. Case in point, setting up in this position overlooking the Roman camp was just about the stupidest thing they could have done. Why? Well, there's something you gotta understand about Carthage. The Carthaginian land forces actually suffered from a multitude of different issues. First of all, since the Carthaginians were rich, they could afford to pay a huge number of foreign mercenaries to fight for them. These mercenaries actually made up the vast majority of Carthage's forces, and therefore, Carthage's land armies were a melting pot of many different cultures.
Oh, I can see how that goes wrong.
That if a battle wasn't going their way, there could be loyalty issues. Man, I ain't getting paid enough for this. You Balearic slingers better not be thinking of running away. What did he say? I don't know, man. I don't speak Phoenician. Let's get out of here. Clearly, there were also language issues. The military generals tended to be Carthaginian, but they made a lot of strange decisions. For example, one of the most feared assets of the Carthaginian army were the war elephants. To a Roman soldier who had never even seen an elephant before, this was like fist fighting, a literal monster. Yet the Carthaginians continually kept placing the elephants in the rear, where they were no use. In a similar fashion, the neighboring region of Numidia provided Carthage with the most skilled cavalrymen in the world. But the Carthaginians often chose to fight on rough, uneven terrain, where horses and elephants were less effective. And so, in this case, when the Carthaginians again chose the rough terrain near the Roman camp, the Romans easily sent them packing. Wow, Regulus, we're mere miles from Carthage. You sure are amazing. Yes, Steve, I know.
Why do you have to say it like that?
What's the matter? We've almost won. I just wish I could be as great as you, Regulus. Steve, you're amazing. I mean, look at this thing.
Yeah, look at that thing, bro.
I know, but I mean like, at war stuff. I'm such a noob. My tanks always get blown up. I can't even fly an aircraft straight.
No.
Tanks? Aircraft? What are you talking about,
Sad.
Steve? I'm talking about free-to-play online multiplayer combat game, and this video's sponsor,
War Thunder!
And here's a detailed simulator by using my link in the description below. Tank, vehicle
Oh, actually, hold on.
me up
Let me
and
see. What
shell
is
is affects the resulting damage. War Thunder has. Every bullet and shell is simulated with realistic destruction. That's the kind of thing that gets me up in the morning.
too, man.
And by using my link in the description below, new and existing users can get an exclusive oversimplified decal
I might
to make
actually
their
unironically
T50
get
tank
War Thunder
look
just to
extra
get that.
spicy.
Like,
Plus,
look at that.
you'll get a huge bonus pack, including premium vehicles and boosters. So play War Thunder now on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. And as always, by using my link, you'll be supporting my channel.
Make sure to support
So
his
thank you.
channel. He does amazing
Now,
content.
where were we?
Just all for free, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Invading Africa, getting some booty, and
Support
sending the
us.
Carthaginians packing. Everything was looking up for Regulus. A Roman victory seemed like it was only a matter of time. But then, Regulus realized something. He had been consul for almost a year, and his term was coming to an end.
yeah, his term's
He
coming
knew
in.
that if his successor took over and he finished the job, then he would get the naked statues, not Regulus. And there was no way Regulus was going to allow that. So he jumped the gun. You there, Carthaginian boy. I want you to deliver a message to your elders. I, Marcus Attilius Regulus, demand the total and unconditional surrender of Carthage. Unconditional surrender? Jeez, at least lay siege and starve us all to death first.
Just deliver the message!
Yeah.
Punk! He demands your total surrender. What? Jeez, at least lay siege and starve us all to death first. Hey, that's what I said. Well, boys, this Roman thinks
He
we're
won't
out.
get crucified
But
today,
we're
guys.
not out, are we, boys? No!
We'll do what we always do in times like this. Hire somebody else to solve our problems for us. Darren, bring in the Spartan.
Ooh, the Spartan.
Regulus's overly harsh demands had the unintended effect of reinvigorating Carthaginian resolve. They brought in a mercenary from the famed land of Sparta named Xanthippus to help dig them out of this situation.
That's such a cool name, guys.
And we all know what Spartans are like.
This is Sparta!
Xanthippus showed up and immediately took charge. He had a look around and said, "You idiots! Put the elephants in front of the army so they can smash into the Romans and stop fighting on rough, uneven
Obviously.
terrain. Find a big flat field so your superior cavalry can do their job." And what's this I hear about you giving a speech telling everyone?
Obviously, guys, I can see this on Foresight. I play Total War, so I know this. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, this guy is gonna shape up things for the Carthaginian armies for sure.
They're gonna die? Hey, I was just telling the people the truth. You're a politician. Lie to the people. And so
Just like
Xanthippus
real life.
led out the newly reformed Carthaginian
Politicians in
army
the
to
modern
meet
age.
Regulus in the Battle of the Bagridas River. The elephants, now in the front, smashed into the Roman lines, causing disarray. The cavalry, with total freedom of movement, outflanked
Look at this,
the
guys.
Roman infantry.
This guy knows
Thanks to
how to
this
do
impressive
tacticians.
Spartan, the battle was a total Carthaginian victory. And Xanthippus, for his stunning victory, was forced to flee Carthage because the leadership got jealous. Regulus,
Of
the Roman
course.
consul, was
Throw
captured
away your
during the
only
battle.
good.
Legend has it, he was brought before the
General.
Carthaginian council, and they made a proposition. Well, Reggie, not looking so good anymore, is it? Looks like we beat you pretty bad, huh?
Up yours, you Punic pansies!
Now, Regulus, nobody likes a sore loser, do they? No. How about this? We're gonna send you back to Rome, and you convince the Roman Senate to surrender to us. If you fail, though, you gotta come back so we can torture you to death, okay? Okay. You promise? I promise. Hey guys. Whoa, Regulus! We thought you got captured. I did, but they sent me back to convince you to surrender. Well, should we? Surrender? No! Never surrender! Give 'em hell, boys. They're at the end of their rope. Anyway, I gotta go be tortured to death now.
What?
Yep, part of a deal I made. It's a long story.
Um,
Wait, Regulus! No, it's cool, guys.
Dude,
I
you're just
promise.
sending yourself to death.
Regulus! This is ancient times. We massacre entire populations, We chop pets in half. You can break
Literally,
a promise.
though.
No, Tim. You never break a promise. That's too far.
And so, Regulus
yes,
went
he has
back
a
to
man's sense
Carthage
of honor.
and was tortured to
Oh.
death. And for keeping his promise, he was immortalized as the
Well, he
leading
got what he
symbol
wants, guys.
of Roman virtue.
Got what he
Meanwhile,
wants.
after their defeat in Africa, the remaining Roman survivors, still in Africa, were still in Africa, and they needed to be rescued. So the Romans sent their fleet to pick him up and bring him home. They successfully fended off a Carthaginian fleet, grabbed the survivors, and made their way to Sicily. A great success.
Great
But
success.
then, things took a turn for the worse. Sir? That cloud looks kind of angry. Fear not, coward. If we Romans can build a war fleet from scratch and defeat the Carthaginian Empire at their own game, why then even Mother Nature herself will crumble before us. I laugh in the face of Mother Nature.
Oh, don't do that. I'm a storm
See?
chaser. Don't
Come on,
do
guys. Laugh at Mother Nature with me. Ha ha!
that. No. No. Don't do it. Don't do it.
284 ships, nearly 80% of the Roman fleet was destroyed.
Oh my.
As many as 100.
100,000 killed at this time period? 284 lost? That's insane. That's so tragic at the same time.
1,000 men drowned in a terrifying act of nature. Never before had Rome lost so many men in a single
I couldn't
incident.
even imagine.
100,000 casualties for any other nation would be crippling. Any other nation would hastily sue for peace. Any other
Not
nation
Rome.
would spend decades trying to recover. But Rome was not just any other nation. Infamous for its unrelenting determination in the face of overwhelming odds, Rome said, well, I guess we'll just have to build another fleet. And they did. In
course.
just 3 months, they built 220 more ships. An astonishing
That's
feat.
even better
The
than
Romans
before.
sent out their brand spanking new war fleet. And they got caught in another storm.
That's insane.
This time, a whole nother fleet was lost.
150?
And still, the Romans did not give up. The Carthaginians couldn't believe it. Their enemy had just lost hundreds
you
of
got, like,
thousands of men, had
200,000
two fleets
casualties
almost
at this
entirely
point, at
destroyed,
least.
and they still wouldn't
Or
surrender.
around that.
As
at
one
least.
Roman poet put it, the victor is not victorious if the vanquished does not consider himself
Dude,
so.
yeah,
In
that really just describes Rome in this time period. They would never give up. They would fight to the last man rather than giving up in a war, no matter what it was.
typical Roman fashion, after a short break, they were once again building another fleet. However, for now, after all the disasters at sea, the focus began shifting back to the land campaign in Sicily. The Carthaginians, overconfident from recent successes, attempted to retake Panormus, but the Romans countered the terrifying war elephants by throwing stuff at them and scaring them away. Having stopped the Carthaginian advance, the road was now open to the final Carthaginian stronghold on the island, Lilybaeum. Lilybaeum was an extremely well-fortified city. In 250 BC, the Romans laid siege. The Carthaginian defense, however, was fierce, and skilled blockade runners kept the city supplied. Progress was so slow that the siege would last another 9 years.
9 years?
To make matters worse, the Carthaginians later sent possibly the greatest military general of the time, a man named Hamilcar Barca, to the island.
Oh, I know who
He
this
engaged in a
is.
skillful campaign of guerrilla warfare behind enemy lines, and for the remainder of the war, he was a major thorn in the Roman side. For now, with the deadlocked siege at Lilybaeum and the new Roman fleet at sea, things seem to be at a standstill, and the Romans had to do something to break the deadlock. Thankfully, the Roman consul, Clodius Pulcher, had an idea. He tried to get things moving by attacking the Carthaginian fleet at Trapana. Now, before a battle, to predict if they would win, it was common for the Romans to look for signs from the gods. This could mean observing the weather or inspecting some cow livers. You know, typical religion stuff.
Yeah,
In this
typical
case,
religion
Pulcher
stuff.
reportedly tried to feed some sacred chickens, but unfortunately for him, they wouldn't eat a crumb. A very bad sign.
Look at them.
Well, he said, if they won't eat, then let them drink! Stupid chickens! We'll observe the weather instead. Gods, give me a sign. Ignore that. Okay, how about this? If I can get this piece of paper into that trash basket,
Reminds
we'll
me
win.
of that, like, I don't know if you guys remember, but that one iPhone game where you would, like, back in 2014, 15, it was on the iPod. You just throw the piece of, like, paper into a trash bin. And then you just get, like, I know this is completely random, but you just get, like, scores off of that. I don't know why that reminded me of that.
Okay, if I can stand here silently for 5 seconds and do nothing, we'll win! Damn it! Pulcher chose to ignore the signs from the gods, and in the following battle, the superior Carthaginians
That must
tore
be a
them to
5-year-old
shreds.
kid that laughed
It
like
also
that.
didn't help that by now the Romans had removed the corvus to stabilize their ships, and without their secret weapon, it was a disaster, and Pulcher was disgraced. To make matters worse, the victorious Carthaginian fleet then went on to intercept a Roman supply fleet on its way to Lilybaeum. As they approached, however, they saw the signs of an incoming storm, so they took shelter. The Romans, on the other hand, said, "Onward, men! Set sail! We've got to deliver these supplies
I wonder what's
stat."
gonna happen
But
at
sir,
this point.
those clouds, don't you think we ought to have learned our lesson by now? Yes,
Yeah.
Brian, we ought to have. But we haven't. Another fleet and 50,000 men
50,000?
lost in another storm. Disaster. Now, at this point, there still really isn't a clear winner. Sure,
It's gotta
the
be over
Romans have
200,000
captured most of
casualties
Sicily
at this point.
and cornered the Carthaginian
That's
land
crazy.
forces at Lilybaeum. But the continued disasters at sea were critically depleting their resources. And without a strong fleet, Rome could not win. Meanwhile, Hamilcar Barca was still knocking about and creating even more problems. So, where do we go from here? How does this war finally end?
How does it?
By now, the two sides had been fighting for 23 years. They were exhausted. Their money, their resources, their strength were all utterly spent. The Carthaginians in particular were eager to see the war end so they could get back to trading
Bank of
and
Carthage.
making money. So after the latest Roman disaster at sea, they said, "Look, there ain't no way in heck the Romans can come back again. They can't possibly afford to build another fleet. They're done. That's it. Recall the navy, repurpose them as merchant ships, and let's get back to making some money." Assuming the Romans would soon make peace, an anti-war faction within the government recalled a large portion of the navy,
That's
leaving
where you
Hamilcar on his
made a
own.
mistake.
The victors appeared to be declaring themselves victorious.
Yep.
Meanwhile, the vanquished were getting ready for round 5. The Romans built another fleet, this time heavily relying on patriotic donations from the upper classes to afford it. And once again, they put to sea. Sir? The Romans have built another fleet. Oh, for goodness sake, Clarence, can't you see I'm busy rolling around in this pile of money? But sir, I don't care anymore, Clarence. I just don't care. The Carthaginian politicians made a fairly lackluster final effort with a poorly built fleet to supply their forces in Sicily. But when the brand new Roman fleet caught them at the Battle of the Aegates, even without their signature corvus, they dealt them the final blow.
Wow.
And that was that. 23 years of war. Neither side could afford to keep fighting, but the Romans showed that they intended to anyway. The Carthaginians had no choice but to throw in the towel. The war had been long and hard for both sides, but in the end, it was Roman determination that won the fight. The Romans had spent
Roman
the entire
determination
war
is
trying to
really
find a
crazy.
way to deliver the knockout blow. They learned how to build a fleet and engage in naval combat. They developed ingenious new ways of waging war. They attempted an invasion of the Carthaginian heartland, and whenever disasters struck them, they always came back.
Let's all remember
again
a time.
and
Let's all remember a time for Steve and Regulus. Especially Steve with that. Just saying. Steve with that thick booty.
again. The Carthaginians, on the other hand, spent the entire war watching whatever Rome did, and then figuring out how to respond. They were much more passive, and so, it's no wonder then that when both sides were close to collapse, Rome was the one who figured out how to go that little bit further. In 241 BC, the Carthaginian politicians sent word to Hamilcar Barca that he was on his own and could choose to make peace with the Romans if he wished. Hamilcar was stunned. He felt betrayed by the politicians. Some sources say he refused to even negotiate. Nevertheless, terms had to be drawn up. Well, Hammy, I'm glad you Carthaginians have finally come to your senses and recognized who the true winner is. How many fleets did you lose? Okay, here are our terms. You leave Sicily to us and return all of our prisoners. You're not allowed to make war against Syracuse or her allies, and you have to pay us 2,200 talents of silver over the next 20 years. What's a talent of silver? Well, to put it in perspective, in the year 2022, that'll be worth around, let's say, 40 million US dollars.
Ay caramba! That will cripple us.
Wow, we got a real smart guy over here. Yeah, that's kind of the point, you dingus. Ugh, I guess I have no choice. I accept.
Great.
Oh, by the way, we changed our minds. You actually have to pay us 3,200 talents of silver over 10 years. Thanks for accepting.
Dude!
See you later.
Hey! You didn't let me say
Typical
I'm cool!
Roman stuff.
You didn't let me say uncool!
The treaty
Oh no,
was
the
extremely
uncool was
punishing,
not
and by
said.
switching up the terms at the last minute, they enraged the Carthaginians. But still, one of the longest and deadliest wars at the time was finally over.
Yeah,
The
hundreds
Romans
of thousands.
had won.
Literally.
They achieved
200s
their
of
aim
thousands.
of
It's
gaining
gotta be.
Sicily. And even though it wasn't part of the peace deal, they took advantage of a weakened Carthage and grabbed Corsica and Sardinia as well. Roman expansion beyond the Italian peninsula.
Okay, guys. I gotta search this up real quick. How many Roman casual? How many Roman deaths in the first Punic Wars? I gotta search this up because this is crazy. As many as 50,000 Roman citizens, another 350,000? 350,000? That's insane. That's crazy.
Had just begun. The Romans hoped that now the Carthaginians would forever be under their thumb. Unfortunately, the harsh terms they placed on the Carthaginians at the end of the war left a growing anger, one that would come back to haunt them. One day, Carthage will have its revenge. That's nice, dear.
Is that Alex the Rambler?
One day, Carthage will have its revenge. That's nice,
Oh my
dear.
god, that's
I'm
Alex
serious,
the
woman.
Rambler.
Maybe not in my lifetime, but perhaps
Good reference.
in his, my beautiful son.
What is that?
You
Say,
are
stop
born
it.
into a momentous destiny. You shall be Rome's greatest enemy. You'll tear Rome limb from limb. You'll burn their pathetic city into the ground. You'll slaughter their people, men, women, and children. My child, you are vengeance. Stop telling our baby he's vengeance. But he is, Barbara. He's vengeance. That may be so someday, but for now, our son has a name, and you should call
I
him
think I
that
know what this
instead.
is.
His name is...
Yep. Second Punic Wars. Alright, guys. That was an amazing video. Hold on. I
Don't
need to make
forget
sure.
to play War
Okay, War Thunder. That was
Thunder
an amazing video, guys. Make sure to give Oversimplified your love. Subscribe them. Make sure to give them a view and a like. Especially for the amazing work that they put through on this video. And if you enjoyed my content, make sure to give a follow and like as well. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Alright, bye-bye.